Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of The Curse of the Collector. This is the show we do once a month where we talk about some of the things we've been acquiring because the curse is real,
The
folks.
curse is
That's
real.
why
It
we do
is.
the show. It's
Yeah, we
only
were
so
way
much
off on
stuff to
that one.
get. I think we constantly always share things that we've gotten, especially over on Jamie's Let's Get Physical page on Facebook, and it's mind boggling when you really think about how often we are just new stuff is coming in all the time. So let me announce the crew here. We got Rick Labonte up in Canada, Jamie Laszlo from Ohio, and Scott Berry from the hot state of Texas. We are missing our other comrade today, Davey Gallagher. He's a little under the weather, our man from Scotland, but we will carry on without him. And I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. So, as always, we do two go rounds where we each talk about something we picked up that want to kind of show off and discuss. So, we'll have Scott kick us off today with his first selection.
All right, sir. Well, thank you. Hope everybody's staying nice and cool in the summer.
Trying.
We're only got up to 102 in Texas. We're only getting up to 102 today, so that's actually an improvement. My first pick picks up where my first pick from last month left off. Kind of hinted at I'd be doing this, talking about Fleetwood Mac. And after completing the Peter Green era albums and the one off from the Jeremy Spencer led group, I decided to track down the Bob Welch stuff, right?
Cool.
And there are five of them. And I managed to find all but the final one at Waterloo Records over a few months. Starting
Boy,
with,
that place loves you, right? Holy
yeah, they
smoke.
do. I should have like stock in the company by now, right?
Oh, man.
First one, Future Games, 1971. And this was the first one to feature Bob Welch on vocals and guitar. And he shares his vocal and songwriting duties with Christine McVie, who's
Mhm.
now full-fledged member of the group, and Danny Kerwin. And Welch and Kerwin bring some beautiful melodic guitar playing to the proceedings. I really like Welch's haunting, unique vocal style. He's got a really unique style. There's not really anybody I could think of that quite sounds like that. Particularly like it on the title track, and "Lay It Down" is a great little rocker from Welch. Christine McVie has some good songs as well, particularly the melodic closer, "Show Me a Smile." And while I'd say this album has some great moments, it might be a little uneven overall. It's a little on the folky side for me, but definitely some great standout songs on it. Bare Trees, 1972, shows this iteration of the band stretching out a bit. Kerwin's Child of Mine is a nice bluesy rocker. Uh, Welch's The Ghost, got some of his great eerie sounding vocals. Christine's Homeward Bound, that's my favorite track of hers so far. And Sunny Side of Heaven is a really nice, beautiful guitar driven instrumental by Kerwin. It's a shame that this would be his last album with the band before he pretty much disappeared off the face of the earth. And he really seems to be coming into his own here, though. That's the big shame about it. Um, the one I'm not too crazy about on here is the original version of Welch's "Sentimental Lady." And the one that's on here, his vocals sound a bit nasally on here to me, which is strange because he doesn't really sound like that on any of the other tracks. I think I like the solo version he did years later better. Big hit in 1977, and he even had some of the 77 version of the group help him out on that one. So
A little
yeah, I
better
guess I'm just more
produced, I
used to
think.
that one.
I think
What's that?
I think on his solo album it's a little better produced. I think it just sounds sonically better.
Right.
The
I
song
mean,
is
you can
still
tell it's a
good.
good song,
Yeah, yeah,
even
it's a great
here.
song. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can
But
hear the potential, but I honestly thought it was a different singer, to be honest with you. My first impression, because I heard the other version first,
yeah,
I wasn't sure that's the same guy, you know.
yeah. But again,
It
he
did
just sounds
sound,
kind of nasally there. I don't know
yeah.
what. Maybe he just had a cold that day or something. I don't know. But anyway, good song. Second album with this lineup, and the singer songwriters I'd say are getting better. Penguin, 1973. Bob and Christine continue to grow as vocalists and songwriters. Christine on Remember Me, Dissatisfied, Did You Ever Love Me? Bob on Bright Fire, Revelation, Night Watch. New guitarist and singer Bob Weston and harmonica player Dave Walker. I think they do a decent job on their respective instruments, but the songs they sing on, they don't really do a whole lot for me. I find them a little bit distracting to the flow of the album. But great songs from Bob and Christine. And of course, you got to give credit where credit is due to one of the greatest rhythm sections in the business, John McVie and Mick Fleetwood, making good songs sound even better and making the filler songs fit in a little better. And I would say Welch's guitar playing is really gradually starting to take on kind of a jazzy feel here around this time. Closing instrumental by Weston, though, Caught in the Rain, is beautiful. I do like that. It's a nice way to close that one out. This one right here, this is the one for me that is the pinnacle of this era. I think
my
Rick
favorite.
mentioned it a little bit last month. Mystery to Me. And this also came out later in 1973. Both Bob and Christine contributed, I think, their best song so far. And not a bad one in a bunch. Great mix of rockers and more melodic fare. And I think Welch was really cooking here with Emerald Eyes, Hypnotized, just maybe my favorite track of his.
Me too, brother.
It's beautiful.
It is.
City, Miles Away. It's just one great song after another. And Christine, likewise, she's got some great contributions as well. Believe Me, Just Crazy Love, the Way I Feel, and I especially like Keep On Going. That one rocks a little, and it sounds like it's got some orchestration on there. Easily my favorite of the bunch. And then we come to Heroes Are Hard to Find, which I managed to. It did end up being hard to find. But it wasn't turning up at my usual stores that are close to me, Waterloo, Half Price, End of an Ear Records. And I was finding it was a little pricey online. So a couple of months ago, I lucked out and I found it at Piranha Records in Round Rock for a mere $4, and I paid $5 for the other. So did pretty well there.
Yeah, I would say.
Worth the wait. Not generally ranked high by most fans, but I think Bob has some real gems on here. Coming Home, Angel, Bermuda Triangle, really cool. Silver Heels, those are all excellent. And those haunting vocals of his just kind of send chills down my spine. I really like his vocal style and can't really understand why he wasn't more successful. Christine seems to have fewer songs on here, but I'd say what's there is of high quality. Title track especially, which has some horns in it. Come a Little Bit Closer and Bad Loser, I would say, are also standouts. And basically, I could listen to Christine McVie sing the phone book. I mean, she's just such a great vocalist. And the band was down to a 4-piece here. Weston had left the band. And I would say maybe one reason this album doesn't get more attention, well, none of them really get a whole lot, but this one maybe is kind of viewed maybe as lesser by fans. I think the production may be lacking a little bit on this one. It's the first album the band did without Martin Birch producing and or engineering it. And Bob Hughes is the producer on this one. It sounds the mix sounds a little bit murky to me. So I don't know, maybe we get a remix on it, right? Probably not.
Probably not. Probably not.
Well, it just, this is not the most appreciated, I would say it's the least appreciated iteration of the band.
Sadly.
I agree.
But, 5 good to great albums over a 3-year period, that's pretty damn prolific. And came away loving this. And you really get to see them evolve and grow as a band with each album. And it's interesting to note that the Buckingham Nicks lineup took 12 years to release 5 albums. Quality over quantity, right? Anyway, if you're looking for a good place to start, I'd say Mystery to Me. That's the meat and potatoes. But every one of these has something to enjoy on it.
I'm glad you enjoyed the going in the rabbit hole down to that. That was really
Oh
nice
yeah.
to share that between two episodes there to continue the saga. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I know it was a good discovery for me too.
Yeah, I considered actually doing it last month, but I thought, I'd probably end up going too long on that. So
I
I
think
have
I
to
think it's
break it
cool
up.
that you broke it up among two episodes because it kind of
I
shows
think so too.
that Rick's
Well,
on
it's
the journey.
it's
Yeah.
it's pretty much two bands, you know.
Wow,
It
yeah,
is
it's really three bands overall,
three
right?
bands. I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
yeah, well,
And
right, exactly. I hadn't even got into the Buckingham Nicks era, but I mean, and I don't know, I might discuss them on a future show. But
Four bands if you include what is it, Time's Up or whatever that
yeah,
sucky
well,
album.
you got that, and then you got
Yeah,
like I
the
said, you had the
90
one off
version.
with Spencer leading the band. You know, I mean, yeah,
yeah.
you had a
Yeah,
lot of iterations.
that's right.
I've said it here on the channel before, and I'll say it again. Most people, the masses, gravitate towards the lineup that came shortly after, where Scott just ended there, right? Obviously, with Buckingham and Nicks, right? And then a lot of people are very loyal to the Peter Green era, the original blues era.
Right.
True.
I would say for anybody watching who has never heard those albums that Scott just showed, do not sleep on those albums, because I'll tell you a couple of reasons. Because for the most part, not on every album, but they carry over that dual guitar attack that was so prevalent
Yes.
on the early albums. Not as bluesy, but there's no
No.
blues elements. But for those who like the mix of kind of like the male and female vocals and the varied songwriting and textures, a lot of different styles, you got
Right.
that there, which bridges, to me, really bridges the gap to the Fleetwood Mac self-titled album and Rumors very
I
nicely.
agree.
A lot of people,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
right? You
Yeah.
know what it is? I think a lot of people, I've seen this countless times over the years. They have this opinion. Oh yeah, the Buckingham Nicks lineup is so different from the classic Peter Green blues era, and I'm like, well, but you have all these five albums that are in between
Yeah.
that really bridge that gap that a lot of people never bothered with. So
That's right.
really, it was no sharp. Oh my God, they're doing something completely
No.
different, because the Bob Welch era has a lot of elements that we saw in those albums, starting with Fleetwood Mac.
I agree.
Oh,
It's like the stairway
great.
to get to the second level. They were here and they took these stairs to get to that second level where they're at, what everybody knows them as. But you're right. They didn't realize there's a missing link in between that evolution of that band.
Yeah, yeah. And a little bit of
Absolutely.
trivia, some folks may or may not know. Dave Walker, who does some singing on a couple of those albums,
Savo Brown.
Right.
actually was hired by Black Sabbath to replace Ozzy Osbourne for
I
the
did
Never
not know
Say
that.
Die album, but it didn't really work out, and then Ozzy came back. So yeah,
And he's known to be on the Savo Brown discography.
yes,
He joined.
Savoy Brown, correct.
That's right.
Yeah,
and
Good
and
singer, good bluesy singer. Yeah,
yes,
The
he
only
is.
one
He's more
he's
suited
got a
for
decent
Savo
voice.
Brown than any other band.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, the one he that stood out, what was it? I'm a Road Runner, which is a cover, you know, and he does a decent job with it. But again, it just didn't seem to fit in with the flow of the album to me. You know.
Yeah,
he's more of a bluesy guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I would have been strange to see him in the Black Sabbath format, to be honest,
Go on
because of his
YouTube.
vocal
There
range.
are recordings on YouTube of him singing some of those early versions of Never Say Die songs. It's a little weird.
Huh.
It's kind of cool, but it's a little bizarre.
I'll have to check
Same
that
lyrics,
out.
though, right? Same lyrics and everything.
Roughly, yeah, roughly.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta check that out.
Yeah, exactly.
Good singer. The guy probably deserved to do something more notable, but yeah, I agree with Rick. I think his best stuff is on the Savoy Brown albums that he plays on. So cool. That's a good start. So,
Right
all right, Jamie, what do you got?
All right. And if you want, I showed this before, but if you want to dive into that era of Fleetwood Mac, this box set you get them all at the same time. You get Then Played On, All the Way to Mystery to Me. Oh, I'm sorry, Heroes Are Hard to Find. Then you get a live CD, and then there's live bonus tracks on each album.
Oh, nice.
Oh wow.
Oh,
That's
no,
the way to go right there.
I have not
What's
heard.
the official title?
1969 and 1974.
Okay.
That's it.
I haven't dug too deep, but I haven't seen any live stuff out there from the Welch era.
Yeah. Good luck.
No, that's true.
And Jamie,
That's
I've seen a few
it's got lots
clips
of
like
live
on
cuts from the
YouTube.
Welch band on there.
What's that?
It's got lots of live cuts from the Welch era on there.
Mhm. Yeah.
For every album, he said there's live bonus tracks at the end of it.
Yeah, that's
Like I found some
That's on
clips
each
like
one.
from the Midnight Special and stuff like that, but yeah, there's no album, you know.
I think it's still in print too. Speaking of box sets, I
All
have
right.
some deluxe box sets here. Personal Shopper song by Steven Wilson came out on the Future Bites a few years ago, and Elton John speaking part, and he says deluxe box sets. And ever since that song came out, that's how I say it now. Real quick, 2 box sets that I posted on my Let's Get Physical page. If you like physical media, come on over. I just recently got this Fish Live 6 CD box set live in Chicago. This is my 10th live Fish album, which isn't a lot. No. If you're a Fish head, you probably have like 300. So this is the best one I own. If you just like rock and roll and screaming guitar solos, this is amazing. I got it for $10 because there was a little sticker residue on there. Got in my Jeep, it came right off. So this is really cool.
Is that the one you were telling me about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that kicks ass. It's 2 Chicago shows. And the first Chicago show, very little downtime, because Fish will sometimes have some trippy downtime for like 10 minutes. Very little on the first show. And then if you like Bob Marley and you have Legend, and a lot of people have Legend, I think it's still in the top 200. It's always selling. Mm-hmm. And if you want to dive a little deeper, there is the complete Island Records box set. I got a bad glare going on in here. And it has all the Island records, and it's $40, and you get all of this. Right. And I have all of these on vinyl and CD here and there, but for $40, you get them all in one spot. You go out on the deck, you bring it with you, and you're set for the day.
Play one after another after another. Yeah.
Right on.
Let me try this. So.
See, it's always good when you know where stuff is on your shelves, right? You can just race back there and know exactly where.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to turn up the lights, though.
I'm envious of that because mine's so disorganized.
So, Pete, you know how you'll normally make the thumbnail like a cool thing one of us shown that day, like maybe the coolest thing? I think I got a contender. I got a contender for the thumbnail. I went down a rabbit hole with a band. I knew very little about this band. I knew they were Dutch, and I knew Radar Love. And I knew
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone, yeah.
I got it.
Well, I own a couple on vinyl. I listened to them once and then just never got back to them. But I did like what I heard. So I just went all in and I bought a 29-disc box set.
Nice.
Earring.
29.
Every single album.
Great. Really good. Really
3 discs.
Really great
band. Album cuts on 3 discs, a book.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what sucked about this is when it came in, there's all your discs. Not only were the albums not in chronological order.
What?
And not only were some flipped around.
No.
The order turned where the CD was sliding out that way, sliding out this way. So I had to put it all in order, all facing the right way.
Good.
Did you buy it new?
Yes, it was.
OCD nightmare.
No.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
It starts with, the first one and goes all the way to their last EP in 2015. And a lot of these later albums were never released in America.
Right.
And the CDs will cost you $25, $35 each. So just to get all these later ones, you're pretty much, it's the cost of the box. The box set was pretty expensive. If you can get it for $200 and you want it, you better grab it. So I just went in chronological order. It took me a month, and I got it right underneath the buzzer because I was listening to the non-album track this morning right before we started this episode.
Nice.
I actually have 2 more non-album tracks, but I did the last EP yesterday, so I finished right in time, and it was a trip because this band has been, I think they had the second longest career next to the Stones. If you think about it, the first album came out in 1965.
Yes.
Last one came out in 2015.
Oh, yeah.
So they start off sounding like the Kinks, early Who,
that's
Beatles, all that. And then you watch them slowly turn into this proto-metal band, into this 80s hard rock band, into this 90s production style of hard rock. And it's a trip because if you listen to the CD1, She Loves You, yeah, pretty much is the feel of that. to their last one, you go, whoa, that's the same band. But if you go in chronological order, you slowly kind of see it and it starts to make sense. So I don't know how many people in the world has listened to every Golden Earring in a row, but I'm one of them. And and after I listened to a bunch, I watched Pete's ranking from a couple years ago. And I agree with a lot of it. His favorite, I think, is the self-titled from 1970. And I got to agree. That's very cool. And then they do 8 Miles High is the name of the album. They do a 19-minute version of 8 Miles High. And it is there in the Gata de Vida, pretty much. It's pretty heavy. And
it is.
And got the drum solo, and it's really cool. And you're like,
and they do it live too. Do you get the live album with your box set?
There are no live albums here.
Oh no! Well, you
okay, but listen, I gotta go.
Yes, but you're good. You're in good time because they just remastered and put a 3rd disc and a DVD there with it. So I'm glad you're getting it today than what I had to buy a second time. But it's worth it, right, Pete?
It's a great live album. Yeah, really.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, my least favorite era of all of this is maybe one of their most popular. Cut and all this, 78 to 80.
Oh, the Twilight Zone
baby.
Era.
80 to 83. It's kind of my least favorite era of the whole band.
It's good.
I never went past that one album. I never went past Cut.
I went past the threshold. I went to the other side.
It's a very different sound from Moontan.
I busted through the membrane to the other side.
Moontan is great.
Yeah, right on.
I will say they have a album here. What the hell is the name of it? The Hole. And people do not like this, I was reading. Because as I'm listening, you're Googling each album. You kind of get a reaction of what the masses think of it. Mm-hmm. And The Hole is pretty much what I call Streets of Fire music. Remember the movie Streets of Fire?
Yeah.
It's that bouncy 80s rock that's just kind of fun and innocent. This is what you get with this album. And I did an experiment a couple weekends ago. We're out on the deck hanging out with the wife. And the wife, the more drinks she gets in her, the pickier she gets about music. So I waited until she had quite a few drinks and I put it in The Hole. No complaining the whole time. And I told her, you're listening to Golden Earring, and I was specifically doing an experiment to see if you bitch about it. And then I'm going to bring it up on Sea of Tranquility that you did not bitch. So it's a fun album. And I will say the last School album, this is just a band going, God damn it. We're never going to have a hit again. Let's just call the album what we want. No one's going to buy it anyway. Tits and Ass. There it is. Tits and Ass is the name of the album. Fuck it. Put it out there. Tits and put it on the shelf. No one's going to buy it. Hell it.
No one did.
You know what? I think they did it just to get that censorship label, because that kind of get people to buy your record. What did the censorship on there?
Yeah.
Right.
That was my thinking.
Maybe. So, yes, if you can find it for $200 and you want it, grab it.
I'm glad you're digging into them. They're a great band, but I never got
now
past...
that I've done each one once, every album, now I get to go back and revisit my favorites, which is really fun.
I would like to hear more of them, like to get into them a little more, but boy, yeah, that's a little intimidating for me. That's a lot of stuff.
How many do you have, Scott?
2.
Okay. I think he could probably really easily recommend another 5 to you, and I think that would be a great start.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. From the 1970 go down. They're my favorite part.
Yeah, I would say if I was going to go get something else, it would probably be around that Moontan era.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those from like 69 to like 77 are A+.
Top notch.
Gotcha.
I think the 90s stuff is, if you made a best of CD of all the 90s to 2015 stuff,
pretty good.
Damn good rocking CD.
Interesting.
That's a cool box. I had no idea that even existed. So very cool.
Right on. Me either.
Yeah. All right, Rick.
But you have to get that live album, my friend.
Yeah.
You'll be complete. You'll be complete.
I will.
What do you got, Rick?
Well, to follow from our last episode, I was talking about the Jeff Beck Parrot Theater, and Pete mentioned the New York 1980 from our good friend Ken Golden from Laser Edge. So I went and did it and got it in time, and I love it. I'm glad to have this. I enjoyed the Jeff Beck doing the arm show with the tour with Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page, and you only get a snippet of the performance. To get the entire set list was excellent. I'm glad to get it. So that continues to this week show and tell. I've always loved Jeff Beck Truth album, right? When that whole lineup, and I always wish there was more stuff. So I went and looked searching some stuff, and it turns out there's a Jeff Beck group with Rod Stewart, Ron Wood, Mickey Waller, or Ansley Dunbar, depending on the show. But it's live on air, BBC and different shows, and so I get some more live versions of this band because I honestly believe, my friend, if they showed up to Woodstock, they would never have broken up, and they would have been big famous. I know what the Who and Santana benefit from that film. If
Crosby,
they
Stills,
would
and
let
Nash.
their rights, don't forget there were people like TCI and Janet Joplin. Their management didn't let them get on the film, which was a mistake. What we learned later because it's iconic and so important. But had Jeff Beck been there, they might have been the biggest band in the world. Rod Stewart might not have the career that he had. You never know. It's a what-up moment, but this is live on air 1967. 3 months after he left the Yardbirds, he put out that single, Hio, Tally, or whatever it
Silver
was.
Lining.
Silver Lining, thank you. And then so that really broke through, and he made him, work on this whole thing. So he's a Saturday Club broadcast, March 18th, 1967, and they did 6 songs on the radio live. Some that I never heard him do till I got there. You heard this one, I Ain't Superstitious. The second track is Beck Interview, Hi Ho Silver Lining as a live take. I'm Losing You, Let Me Love You, Stone Cold Crazy, not the Queen tune, but a blues tune, and it really done well. And then July 4th, on your American birthday, 1967, they had 2 songs, Rock My Plinsoll, which is Rock Me Baby, and Tallyman, which is an instrumental stuff. And then November 1st of 67 and November 5th, which is actually got broadcast. They recorded it and then released it to the world. I Ain't Superstitious, Beck and Bolero, which is done really interesting here. A tune I've never heard them do on either of the 2 albums that they did with Rod. You Never Get to Heaven, You Shook Me. We've heard that one. And another unearthed gem till now, Loving You Is Sweeter Than Ever. So just to continue collecting the artifacts of Jeff Beck, I had to share that with you guys. I love this period of the band. I just wish there was more of it, footage and stuff. So this, to me, feels like a holy grail stuff right here, just to find something
nice
with
score. That's a
Where
nice
did you get
score.
that, Rick?
I got this actually from Sheffield, UK. When I went there to the UI Heap and Vincent Caravan, I made connection with people who were selling CDs there. And so I looked online to see what they had, and this stood out. So I ordered it from them. So that's how I met. I went to UK and they had.
You'll be getting a message from Scott after the show. It's like, oh, you got to give me your contact. That's like, yeah, that looks
for sure. For sure. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Ken Golden don't have it. I didn't go there. I just saw it right away and I grabbed it. And then when I learned about this, I wouldn't be surprised because it all looked like it's coming from the same networking of appreciation fan because they're all very similar in packaging.
My guess is since we lost Jeff not that long ago, you're going to start to see a lot more of those kind of bootleg things coming out.
Probably will.
For sure.
And because we're talking about it, we got coming up in September, we've got the re-release of the great Beck Bogart and the Peace live in Japan box set with a full other live concert and booklet. And
I'll buy it.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
I already have the Japan one, and it sounds awesome.
I do too, but I'm going to buy this anyway.
Me too. Yeah. The curse is real, but it's no curse when you're getting something totally extra that you never had.
Yeah.
So
anything Jeff Beck is like, gotta have it.
Yeah, right on, my friend.
Absolutely. All right. I don't know if I caught what Davey has, but I'm going to go use the bathroom. Proceed.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Peter.
All right, so let's see. So I've got some. I almost showed this last month, but I figured I'd hold it off for this month. So this is the first time I've ever bought anything from this guy from his solo career, although I have other things that he's on. But it's Buddy Miles, and it's Buddy Miles Live from 1971, 2-disc live album. Absolutely spectacular. Of course, most folks know, he played with the Electric Flag, right? Drummer for Electric Flag. He played with Jimi Hendrix and the Band of Gypsies album. He also did that live album with Carlos Santana. He played drums for the Santana band, right? I think that basically is the coming together of the Santana band and the Buddy Miles band as well.
That's right.
All really good, but I never had anything else by him. He's got lots of solo albums, lots of other things. But I saw this. I don't even remember where I saw this. So I heard about it from somewhere, and I figured, let me go check it out. It's a 2-disc live set, like I said, from 1971. Absolutely spectacular. Most of what's on here are interesting covers by other artists at the time. So remember 1971. So it's stuff from in the 60s and up to that point. He's got this huge band, which is a full horn section. Let me see if there's really no known names. So Buddy's on drums and vocals. You got David Hull on bass and vocals, Stormzy Hunter on sax. There's Bob Hoggins on trombone and organ, Tom Hall on trumpet. Let me see if I have more official information on everybody who's on here. Yeah, so there's a good guitar player on here as well. Charlie Karp. I never heard of any of these people. Donnie Beck on organ, Hank Red on tenor sax. Yeah, all sorts of folks. A full horn section. It's really funky, very rockin', classic rock, blues rock, jazz rock. And the songs on here, like I said, it's mostly covers. They do a terrific version of Down by the River by Neil Young. It's like 13 minutes long. It's amazing. They got Take It Off Him and Put It On Me. Wrap It Up is on here. The segment. They do Them Changes. They got
good.
Which, yeah, I mean, you have to, right?
So he does his anthology of his career, right? From the two bands?
Basically, yeah.
Cool.
We Got to Live Together is on here. That's like
right on.
Change. Wrap It Up is 20 minutes long. There's lots of solo and lots of great funky grooves. It's a lot of fun. It's a great sounding live album. I was blown away by how good this was. And Scott and I were having a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling Scott it's a lot of covers on here, and he knows I'm not a big covers guy, but they do the covers really well and make them their own, right? They give them their own style rather than, I think, and I can always appreciate that.
Me too.
Great drummer, great vocalist.
He's a good singer.
Yeah, he's a really good singer. You can hear the crowd noise quite a bit on this recording, so it sounds like you're right there listening to it all. And I don't know if there's anything else I could show you. The CD.
So where did he perform at? Was that one like a tour, or that's one concert, one performance?
I think it's just stuff from a tour because they don't.
Yeah, 71
July. So it's basically taken from recordings from July of 1971 in the U.S. So concerts in Seattle, Santa Monica, Bakersfield. So it's from those shows. It's from those.
Who are we talking about?
It's not a big tour.
Buddy Miles.
Buddy Miles.
Yeah. So very, very cool. Produced by Buddy and co-produced by Gary Kellgren. So yeah, really good. Check it out if you like it.
That's not the BGO set.
No, this is actually
BGO set that I think just came out with that one and another one.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, this is a Universal Mercury release. So
cool.
This came out, this version in 2022. So this is pretty new. Pretty new.
Cool.
Last year.
I'm gonna have to, that's on my radar now.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it. It's good.
You too.
Scott, back to you.
All right, sir. Well, my second pick is a band that is a recent discovery for me. Get a lot of recent discoveries when I watch this channel, and this is a band I've heard about for years. But usually when I mention a recent discovery, it's something I heard Pete discuss on the channel. Not this time. I actually investigated this band because of a post I saw from Jamie in his Facebook group, and so I credit him with getting me started. Based on his description, they sound like they would be up my alley. Talking about Social Distortion.
There you go.
Yeah, great band. I've been hearing about them since the 90s. And I remembered liking their song Ball and Chain, which got a fair amount of radio playback in the early 90s on rock stations. They usually get classified as punk, but I think there's definitely some country, early rock and roll influences in their music, and
Americana.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, even maybe some nods to classic rock as well.
Oh yeah.
I started with their major label release, and the one that has Ball and Chain, just the self-titled album from 1990. The sound was kind of familiar to me, so I started there. What was that, Jamie?
Story of My Life is on there. That was another kind of
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And yeah, like I said, it's got Ball and Chain. It's got an awesome cover of Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire. So it's a good starting point. I remember Jamie talking up White Light, White Heat, White Trash. So I ended up getting that one from Discogs along with the one in the middle, somewhere between Heaven and Hell. These were two of their major label releases from the 90s. And both of those are excellent. Starting to see what he likes about this band, and I don't think you have to be a hardcore punk to dig these guys, particularly the 90s albums. They're maybe a little more user friendly, not
hard rock. Good hard
not
rock.
as punkish. I mean, there's definitely some punk going on.
When you say punk, you mean like Green Day punk sort of thing?
Okay, well, I'm going to get to Green Day in a second.
Okay. All right.
I would say
no.
rocks and could have some appeal to fans of hard rock and classic rock, but I'm surprised they never got a wider audience. In my humble opinion, I think they were better than Green Day.
Must be 12 o'clock somewhere.
Must be.
What time is this air, Pete? About 6 o'clock in the evening?
8 o'clock tonight, Eastern time.
Then it won't look so bad to your viewers.
No,
don't tell them what time.
They don't know what time we record, right?
And no wonder why you had to go to the washroom in the middle of a show.
Somebody's like, it's beer o'clock.
Yeah, really. Anyway, yeah, I think they were a little better than Green Day. I like Green Day, but I'm not like a huge Green Day fan. I don't get everything they have, and I just think they should have locked on to some of that appeal that Green Day had, though, that crossover punk classic rock audience. And they had a few years where they were kind of a thing, but they quickly kind of faded from the scene. I eventually worked my way over to their earlier, more punkish albums, Mommy's Little Monster from 82, Prison Bound, really good one, from 88. And Mainliner, that's a collection of their earliest recordings. Not their best, but a fun listen for what it is. And I would say they also passed the test for what makes a great rock band, and that is having a killer live album, Live at the Roxy, 1998.
Oh man,
a lot of fun.
Even his banter in between songs are so memorable.
Absolutely.
It's funny, not to diverge too much, but I think that unfortunately we have been in an era of the last 25, 30 years where nobody really cares about live albums as much anymore as they did back in the 60s and 70s. And I think that a lot of the music universe has missed, and I've never heard that live album, but I'm just saying, based on you're both
it's not a bad place to start.
There's probably a lot of really great live albums that have come out since the 90s that are tremendous and should be looked at as classic live albums, just like all those great ones from the 70s that we talk about.
I agree.
Right? Yeah.
That live album.
That one's from 1998.
That's seen as a lot of people as their go-to album for Social D. Almost like Live 2
it's a good starting
or Live 1, their go-to.
Wow.
Absolutely. They took some time off from recording for a few years, but came back with Love, Sex, and Rock and Roll, 2004. And this is their most recent, Hard Times and Nursery Rhymes from 2011. And singer frontman Mike Ness has also released a couple of solo albums. He's pretty much been the one constant in the band. I mean, he pretty much is the band, as I understand it. Would you agree with that, Jamie?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they still tour. And they can
I was going to say
2,500 people there.
The band still tours. They haven't released an album, like I said, since 2011. But rumor has it they are working on a new one to be released maybe this year, maybe early next year. weren't the most prolific band. Supposedly they got started back in 1978. I was surprised to find that out. That's not long
time ago.
The big punk revolution of '77. And like I said, they're not the most prolific, but what's out there is excellent. And just Jamie, thanks for making me aware of these guys, or reminding me of them anyway.
I'm glad you like them. White Heat, White Trash is sometimes a top 5 album for me of all time.
I think that was
album.
What got me.
You don't have to like punk
started.
to like it. There's the most punk thing about it is the snarl in Mike Ness's voice. Other than that's it's just good old fashioned hard rock.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I don't think you have to be a hardcore punk to really get into these guys. I think there's some crossover appeal there.
So see, Jamie, it's not just me who can get thanked for reducing someone's bank account. See, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
All right, Mr. Laszlo, you're up.
All right. Pete said on my Facebook page, let's get physical to someone one time, not too long ago, because we don't talk about cassettes enough on Curse of the Collector. You should come on and talk about cassettes. I said, Pete, I got a shit ton of cassettes. I'll talk about cassettes next show. So let me go through this real quick.
And for the job.
That's right.
Cool cassettes I got. This was limited to just 70 copies. Bell Witch, Longing. And what's cool about it too is it has this little cardboard thing. It's not the most durable thing, no. And then it opens this way and opens that way, and you got your little book, and then the cassette is in there.
Wow, that is kind of neat.
Yeah, and the cool thing,
I was going to say, is that the first ever
cassette
cassette slipcase? And it's better.
Yes. The thing is, this was $30, but at the time, Longing, I could not find it on CD or vinyl anywhere for months. I said, fuck it, I'll buy the damn cassette. And about 3 months later, got reissued on CD.
Of course.
Of course.
This one is made out of cardboard.
I've done that before.
It's an old Kinks cassette, cardboard case, and it comes with a thing on the cassette that locks it so it doesn't spin. This is like from 1970 something.
Wow.
And the thing is about this one is I cannot find it online. I can't find it on eBay or Discogs. So I don't know much about it.
You may have one of the last ones in existence.
Maybe. Yeah. These are 2 very cool cassettes. About 5 years ago, I went to a very small record fair. Only 7 vendors at the most. And some guy was selling these for $1 each. And they're original pressings of Death, Scream Bloody Gore.
Nice.
And Possessed 7 Churches. He had in his collection there the 2 albums people argue about the beginning of death metal for $1 each. And the Death now sells for about $70, and the Possessed sells for about $30. So there's $100 worth of stuff I got.
Is that the original label releases for both?
Original label releases, yeah. And when I saw them for $1 5 years ago, I'm like, ooh, this dude doesn't know. The Sword released a cassette during the pandemic. Of course, everybody had their version of the pandemic in the title of their album, Conquest of the Quarantine. They always had to work it into the title. And this is cool because it has a T-Rex cover, Children of the Revolution. They do Working Man by Rush and Don't Do Me Like That from Tom Petty. And
that's only on cassette.
Only 500 and only on cassette. I walked into a record store a couple of years ago, and I think Rick will appreciate this, an original pressing of the first Tea Party on cassette.
Wow.
I spent $20 on that one because I'm like, I'm never going to see that again. So let me just grab it. Cool. I can't tell you how many times I said that to myself in my life when I see, well, I'll never see it again. So some cassettes, the only version I have of these albums are on cassette, and that's how I listen to them. Mr. Universe by Gillan.
Yes.
ZZ Top, XXX.
Nice.
And I just got this for 99 cents a week or 2 ago, Marillion, Season's End. Nice. And they all sound great. So maybe I'll buy them on CD someday, but in the meantime, that's all I got. Cassettes that meant the world to me. These are sentimental to me. The first time I ever heard, these are the original ones I had when I was a kid. First time I ever heard Paranoid and Heaven and Hell was on this. Paranoid on one side, Heaven and Hell on the other side. Does not play anymore. We were driving to Nags Head from Pittsburgh, And I was, how old was I? 13, 14. I was 14. I said, I'm going to sleep the whole way. And you know why, how I know I'm going to sleep the whole way? I'm going to stay up all night, the night before we leave in the morning. And then in the car, I didn't sleep at all. What I did is I listened to Love at First Sting over and over and over again in the back seat. I remember walking into a record store in 1987, the very first cassette single, Bryan Adams, In the Heat of the Night.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah, you would think the very first cassette single would be worth a few bucks. It's worth nothing. They must have made a ton of them. We were walking in Fisher Big Wheel when I was about 14 years old, 13 maybe. And this was in Elwood City, PA. And I told my mom, will you buy this Masters of Metal for me? Because all these songs I know I'll never get tired of. You know what? 13-year-old me was right, because all these songs I never got tired of. Trashed by Black Sabbath, Mean Streak, Y&T, Breaking the Chains, Who's Behind the Door. You don't get tired of these songs. Street of Dreams by Rainbow, Run to the Hills, Tom Sawyer, World of Fantasy.
Wow.
Does not play anymore, but I do have it on vinyl. This cassette, the story behind this cassette, this is the original, does not play anymore. Crocus Headhunter. And this is the thing. Too. My sister always did these dance recitals once a year. Okay. And these dance recitals were like 4 hours. It was like Woodstock of bad dancing, of kids dancing. And they went on for like 4 hours. And my sister was in jazz and tap. And they did tap in the beginning and jazz at the end. So guess who had to stay the whole time, not only for the original thing, but practice every day. I don't know why my mom would let me stay home by myself. I had to go with them to practice. So every time we go, this over and over and over again in my headphones. It got me through those recitals. Pat Benatar shit on cassette from the 80s, all her live things.
Why am I not surprised?
Radio stations and interviews. I still have all that taped. And then I still make mixtapes, the great reggae tapes. This is a great, just I listen to this with my wife on the deck and I go, how did I put this together? How did I know these songs were good? Because it's some deep shit on there. My hair metal cassette of, I don't like a lot of hair metal, but I took the best song of every hair metal band. I put them on one cassette and I made it hair metal. And this is just cassettes of my No Michael Jackson show, radio station. In college, I had a show on there called No Michael Jackson Show. And one other thing, these cassettes mean a lot to me. So I put them on a frame. I think I might have showed this before. And I keep them on the wall. And this is my first Pat Benatar cassette, Get Nervous, that I wore out. And I had to buy 3 of these cassettes before I finally got on CD. My first Iron Maiden cassette, which changed my life. I tell people I discovered this at the December 1983. I left school with Duran Duran pins on my jacket and came back after Christmas break with Maiden pins on my jacket. I was a new man. My very first cassette I ever bought with my own money is Stray Cats, Built for Speed. And then the Easter Bunny in 1984 brought me Rush, Grace Under Pressure. And it came out right around Easter too. Got a bad glare today, but we all know how those albums look like.
Yes.
So
yes.
There you go.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. That's some fun stuff there.
Yes.
I don't have any of my cassettes anymore. I got rid of all of them. I left them up in an attic at a place we lived in before here. I left them up in an attic for like 2 years in a hot attic. And I figured they were probably destroyed. So I just threw them out.
Yeah. They still make cassettes. Like this came out a couple years ago for Record Store Day, Motley Crue box set of everything on cassette. I'm not the biggest Motley Crue fan, but that's fun. I'll go listen to them on the deck. They put a magnet there. By the cassettes. So when you bought it, the first cassette in line was blank. The magnet erased it on every single copy.
Oh, man.
So
go
some millennials were like, oh, put a magnet on there because they don't know.
Who was the brain dead guy who got approved that one in the QC run? Jesus.
Yeah, it went through all those people, whoever at the factory, and nothing clicked on anyone.
Oh, my God.
It's ridiculous. Oh, boy.
Cool. Yeah, I got rid of my cassette days. But because of this show, I also replaced all my albums. So I am up to date. CD forever. So the search go on for me to get everything Jimmy Page. And I have this book here and I'll show it to you. It kind of Oh, I just got it real quick. It's basically every record ever made in the '80s up to the '80s, and it tells you every album made, and so it also has index where it talks about the musicians on it, and so it talks to all the Jimmy Page what he played on as a session musician. So, and you know how much he did. I had to get even James Bond, Goldfinger to Joe Cocker with a little help my friends get all the albums that Jimmy Page. Well, I continue to do that. And one of the things that they launched the Swan Song label, um, Peter Grant wanted to manage Maggie Bell and join that. And Jimmy Page played on her album and basically played on 2 tracks. And they were awesome. I mean, the guitar sounds like Since I've Been Loving You, and the song means the same, that tone, that performance, it's like that in this album. Anyway, it's a very good record. It's called Suicide Sal, Maggie Bell. It's a nice disc, and she has kind of she's like what they're known as the English Janis
Yeah.
Joplin, very bluesy, great singer. Opens up the album with Wishing Well, a cover from Free, and pretty good version. But he played Jimmy Page. Why I went and got that on a song called If You Don't Know. Great blues performance and Come On Strong. 2 songs on this that Jimmy played, and I had to get that. And also, she did a cover of a Beatle tune. They call it "I Saw Him Standing There," and it's a pretty good version. But if you knew a little bit about her past, she came from a band called Stone the Crow, which is a great band. And one of my favorite singers was the bass player for that band from Robin Troller's band, James. He
Sure.
sings. Yeah, he sings on this record and played
Nice.
bass as well. So they only had a couple records, and then she launched her career. The sad story is that her boyfriend was it Les Harvey, who got electrocuted
Yeah.
in '72, and that one of the things that broke Peter Grant's heart as a manager of Led Zeppelin, knowing the family really well. So he took him under the wing, and she had an album called Queen of the Night. And this is the second album, solo album, where Jimmy Page played on. So, guys, check it out on YouTube if you want. It's a very good tune. It's a very good album. I like it. It's got the blues, rock, a balance that I like, and so check it out.
Rick, how do her solo albums come? Because I think she's a dynamite vocalist, and I have all the Stone the Crow stuff, which I love. How does her solo albums compare to the Stone the Crow stuff? Very similar.
Well, I got the other one on its way. She hasn't arrived yet. The Queen of the Night, and that's supposed to be a good shirt top and album for her back in the day. But this is a great record. I enjoyed it. I really like the tone, great quality sound. I don't know if it when we match it that way or would release that way, but I like it. I'm hearing it in the present day, so I don't know how it was like when it originally was released. But this beautiful package has the CD and a booklet and some lyrics behind it. So pretty good record. I enjoyed it. I'm glad it wasn't just for the Jimmy Page. Now I like the whole record. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
she's so good. Yeah, I'm gonna investigate that because I really like the kind of the blues rock that Stone the Crows does, and I always assumed that her solo stuff was kind of similar, but I never
It
invested.
is similar. It is similar, brother.
Cool.
Rick,
I
correct me
like the
if I'm
song
wrong.
by Down, Stone the Crow.
Pardon me?
The song by Down, Stone the Crow.
Which is a great
Oh, okay.
song.
Great. It is.
So to say, Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Jimmy Page play on some Tom Jones albums?
Oh, well, I have a book that he played. Like there is a compilation album where he played and his Tom Jones sing, but I don't know if it's a Tom Jones release or Tom Jones singing a song for a
Oh,
motion picture film.
okay.
But yeah, Jimmy Page played on his music too.
I thought
He
I
played,
remember hearing he played on
you
it's
know,
not
I'll
unusual.
look it up now that you're talking. I
Yeah,
tell
I'm
you,
gonna have to look that up too
I'll look
when
it up while we're talking.
All right, so my last selection of the day is a band that I've always known about. Not always. I mean, they haven't been around all that long. They've been around for about 15 years or so. But I've always heard a lot about them and always wanted to check them out. But, there's only just so much time in the day and so many bands to investigate. And I always thought, I'll check them out one of these days. I'll check them out one of these days. And then I've been getting a lot of people asking me, it's like, Pete, why don't you ever talk about animals as leaders on the channel? I'm like, yeah, I know. I should get into these guys. So I went and I investigated their catalog and I said, all right, there's only 5 albums. So let me go pick them all up. And I did. And I've been listening to them, and George Lamy and I are going to do a ranking show at some point over the next month or two. And, it's one of those bands that's like, why did I wait so long to listen to these guys? All instrumental. It's a trio. Guitar and drums, or guitar, bass, and drums. It's like you got this amazing guitar player named Tosin Abasi, who's like one of the phenoms in like progressive metal, instrumental progressive metal right now. He's an amazing player. And you got Javier Reyes is the other guitar player / bass player. They switch off. And then Matt Garstka is the drummer. These guys are amazing. Only 5 albums. Again, to describe their music, it's basically instrumental, prog metal, fusion, just otherworldly compositions and musical dexterity. I mean, these guys are just fantastic players. And the albums are, let's see, I didn't put these in an order, unfortunately, but so I think this is the debut album. So Animals as Leaders from 2009. Okay, then they came out with an album called Weightless. Which one is it? And so it's this one here, right? I think. Yep. And their album covers are the colors are very light, and there's not only, so it's hard to tell which ones are which sometimes. Then there's The Joy of Motion, which is this one here, right? Yep, Joy of Motion. And then we have The Madness of Many, which is this one here. And then their most recent one, which I think came out in 2022, which is Parrhesia, which is really good. Again, you have to like instrumental music, and you have to, and I do want to stress that their music is very kind of hypnotic. It's not all out, balls out shredding all the time. So if like you're thinking that it might be something like that, not quite. There's plenty of shredding on here, don't get me wrong, but very melodic, very well constructed, very progressive and futuristic sounding, and like compositionally, like you wouldn't think, like 5 albums of nonstop instrumental kind of and it's like kind of genty too. So there's like those complex stop-start polyrhythms and things like that, but some good heavy riffing, some blazing melodic soloing, and the drumming is off the charts. Really good stuff. But like, not a band you're like, I'll say it right now. I've got these 5 albums. This is not a catalog you're going to digest fully in a couple of weeks or a month. You have to listen to these for a few months to kind of really get all that's going on here. So I'm glad I finally did, because these guys are off the charts good. So I highly recommend anybody check out, if you haven't already, Animals as Leaders. I know they got a lot of fans out there. And right now they are currently out on tour with Devin Townsend and Dream Theater as the opening band on that triple bill. And unfortunately, I missed that tour, but I heard that they were spectacular, as I would expect. So yeah, really good stuff for those of you who are into that sort of thing.
That is such a George Lamy kind of band.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh my goodness! Out of all the George Lamy bands, that is maybe the most George Lamy-iest.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Intricate.
1,000 notes all at once.
Well, the drummer is amazing, and George loved the drums, and so the drummer is incredible. I saw them just recently, and it was all instrumental and very technical and very busy. It's like so much is going on among, and you know what? There's no bass player. It's 2 guitar players and a drummer.
Yeah, so live it's just, so they don't play any bass live. I know on the albums they both play bass, but
right,
live it's just guitar. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it looks like 7 strings, 8-string guitars and stuff.
Well, that's why. Yeah, so what they do is
one of the guitar players like rhythm.
Yeah,
well, yes, they trade off.
They trade off. And I think because they use the 7-string guitars, they can have that kind of bottom end going without actually having a bass player.
Exactly, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's some pedal too, like the tone pedals or the floor pedals that they put on will have a hum. Yeah, like they do with Getty. But I don't know. I saw them. They were pretty busy. I don't think they dialed them. The sound is good as the other band from later on that day. But I don't know if it was really last minute thing. But they were entertaining, and they did have the crowd stimulated for having no vocal, very few words talked between the songs, and just go.
Yeah. Well, that's the perfect showcase for them right on a Dream Theater tour, because
Sure.
so many people who go, or Dream Theater fans go to see them from a musical perspective, right?
That's true.
People either love or complain about James LaBrie's vocals, right? But musically speaking, I know every time, because I've seen Dream Theater over 20 times, you go to a show and you look around you and everybody is staring at every little thing John Petrucci's doing, or John Mayung, or Jordan Rudess, or whoever's playing,
So true.
Mike Mangini, right? It's a musicality thing. So to be able to see a band like Animals as leaders on that tour, that's all they do. They just play. There's no singing involved, right? That's a great tour to be on.
Yes.
So Pete, which one of those would you say is a good jumping on point?
Oh man, I would say start with the new one.
Okay.
And work your way back. They're all good, Scott. I trying to rank these is going to be ridiculous because they're all such high quality. But yeah, start with the new one and go back and see if that's kind of your thing.
But that's fairly new discovery.
Yeah, last year. Yeah. Good stuff. So there you have it, everybody. Our picks for this month for the Curse of the Collector. I've already got stuff sitting here that I'm probably ready to talk about next month, but we still have time for new things to come in. So I may say, screw those sitting over there.
Old news.
It never ends.
It never ends. So
check out some Social D though.
White Light, White. Investigate that live album. I think.
That is a great starting point.
Yeah. Definitely gonna do that. So for all of you folks watching, list in the comments below any cool things you have acquired since the last time we met, and put those down below. And visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, as well as our merch page. You can get one of those cool Sea of Tranquility shirts like Rick is wearing there. And we'll see you next month here on Curse the Collector. Stay tuned. Tomorrow morning, Rick will be joining me, and the next episode of Ranking the Albums, we'll be ranking the very short but very cool catalog of the Winery Dogs. And in just a couple of weeks, Mr. Laszlo and I will be ranking the fairly sizable catalog of Monster Magnets. So that's
11 albums, I believe.
A lot of albums. So that is.
And just before we go, to answer the question that Scott mentioned, Tom Jones' second single, Jimmy Page played on, is not unusual. So wait on, Scott. I got to go get another CD. Thank
you. Because you got to have them all, right?
That's right. That's what the show's all about. Take care.
Thanks for watching, everybody. The Curse is indeed real. We'll see you next month. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.